welcome to the Creation Grounds podcast, where we break down the success, habits, and the life of people in creative fields and discover how they've gotten to where they are, what they aspire to be, and how you can live your dreams too. Let's get to the show.
Hello.
Hey, Julie, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we first met a couple years ago at a meeting Annette, our manager, had, and we bump into each other occasionally at auditions. The last one I remember was the CBS Diversity Showcase.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, and lately you've been working on a play in ATL, but before we go into that and what you're doing now, let's just explore how you've gotten there. Where are you from?
I grew up in Long Beach, Long Island in New York. If you're asking me ethnically where I'm from, my mother is Korean, which is where I was born, and my father is Dominican. But predominantly I was raised in New York, so consider myself an American.
Okay, cool. So Korean Dominican, that's a mix that's very unique. How has that elevated your experience of life and informed your life and your work?
Well, I got to say one thing that's interesting is that, because I'm split down the middle 50-50, I'm constantly being asked, like, what do I identify with? Am I Asian or am I Dominican? And I find it interesting that society and even the industry as a whole has tried to bucket me into a category. And, like, honestly, I'm neither. I'm a mix of the two. And sometimes I feel like that answer hasn't really satisfied people. But it's funny that people are always trying to bucket me into an identity. And it's just like, I am a person. So how that's helped me in life, it's, I kind of find it interesting, and I empathize with people who have a need to identify with their race because that is who their identity is. But I find it interesting that people have a hard time understanding that, maybe sometimes your identity isn't just about your race. And I think that's helped me in life. It's helped me be a bit more empathetic towards human beings and just see people differently.
For sure. So is it kind of like a label thing? You don't like labels? You just like to be an individual?
It's not that I don't like labels, but it's funny. It's like, it's like the Asian side the people in the Asian community want me to identify as Asian, and I am. I'm half Asian, and then the Latina side wants me to identify as a Latina, and I am half Latina, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's funny. It's not that I don't like labels, it's just hard to label when that's not an option to label,
Okay. Cool. So has that mix influenced like any choice you've made in your career?
Absolutely. I mean, again, because I'm constantly being asked to be forced into a bucket, and it's hard because when I go on auditions for a role that specifically calls for an Asian woman, I rarely ever book those auditions, mainly and predominantly because I don't look Asian enough for those roles, or I'm not Asian enough. And the same goes for the Latina side of me. It is very, very rare for me to go in and book a full-on Latina role because I'm not enough. So it kind of helped me step back and take a look at who I really am. And, I tend to think that, like, the television industry isn't really up to par with where our society is and our perceptions of race quite yet. So instead of me just sitting here and waiting for them to come around, because God knows when that's going to happen, I've kind of just tried to look at it as, okay, maybe instead of looking at me as a race type, maybe we look at me, and I talked to our manager, Annette, about this, maybe we looked at me as just a personality type. And that's kind of what Annette and I did. We started focusing more on my personality, which is a more dominant type A, woman, and those are the roles that we try to target. So any authoritative female roles, whether it be a doctor, a police officer, a lawyer, anything, that's how we target ourselves. So that's kind of been where our mind shift has been with our career path.
Okay, so you have a lot of training. You've studied at Schreiber Studio. You have some experience with ward acting, UCB, Labyrinth Theater. So you have a lot of tools to pull from in your toolbox, and you seem very driven, and you stay hungry to grow. Where's that hunger stem from for you? And would you say that hunger is something that you're just born with or that you can develop?
Maybe it's something you're born with, but I also just think, your life experience kind of helps I wouldn't say develop, but definitely influence you and what your hunger and your drive is. I mean, it's hard to be really driven if you don't have this need, or if you haven't been surrounded by the need. And, you know, growing up in a family that are first generation, you know, who came over here, we're working class, watching them work really hard and having their obstacles get in the way, such as their language barrier, you know, their lack of education. It's certainly been a point of my family for me to succeed and be something that they weren't. So that's an influence that I've gotten from them. Have I developed that? Maybe. And am I hungry for it? Yeah, I guess so. And I think, I don't know if it's my training that has made me that way, but I just think, you know, there was a certain ambition that I've grown up with. And maybe that's because I am second generation American, you know, here, and that's a mindset that we have. And it might be, I can't speak for those who aren't, but I just know from my own experience, it's something that's very much been pushed in my family. So something that I inherited.
Cool. So you started a comedy troupe, Tangana? Am I saying it right?
Tangana.
Tangana. Does that mean something? What does that mean?
If you ask Edgar Rivera, who is the person who started the troupe and brought us on, Tangana is a word and that he defines as, he's Puerto Rican and he grew up in a very Puerto Rican family, and the way he described it, and whenever anything happens where something maybe just whacks you out of left field, you know, it's a tangana, that's what it is, like gotcha, or I don't know how to explain it. He does it so well, it's really funny, but it just means like booyah, here we are.
Okay, something like bazinga or like.
Exactly.
Oh,
and so,
okay.
So I met Edgar Rivera at the New Eurekan Poets Society. I went to a stand-up comedy show that he was doing there. A friend of mine had taken me, and I sat in the front, was dying laughing at his show. We started bantering back and forth in the middle of the show because he was picking on me a lot, and I guess he learned that I was an actress throughout his bit. And after the show, we just started talking. He goes, "Hey, I've been thinking about doing this sketch comedy group. I have one other guy. Would love to have a female Latina representative in that." And he goes, "And because the diversity of your background, it would work really well." And I said, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And we brought on one other girl to do it. And, you know, our whole mission was just to be, we performed every month at the New Eurekan for about a good 2 years. And we did brand new original sketches that we would brainstorm every month and develop. And they were all Latino-based, or culturally based. Sometimes they weren't, but, you know, we tried to make it a focus.
Okay. And do you prefer comedy or you prefer drama more?
I mean, come on, comedy is fun, but it is hard.
Comedy is fun.
But I love drama too. You know, I got to say, everyone always asks me, like, what do you see yourself as? It's like, I love dramedy because that's life, right?
I agree. Yep. For sure.
Yeah. And again, it's being asked to pick a side, and I like the blend. I always like the mix of the two.
Okay. Kind of like that Bruce Lee, you know, take what you can, like be water, pretty much.
Yeah.
Be water, do everything that you can. So you have a lot of experience. Your career, I mean, you have credits going back all the way to 2006. Mm-hmm. In all that time, what's the most funniest or most embarrassing audition story that you have?
Oh, God.
Because we all have them. I definitely have some.
I
sure.
was asked this last week, and I decided to skip the question because I didn't want to relive all the embarrassing moments. I've had way too many embarrassing moments, but there's one that keeps popping up in my head, and I don't even know if it was that embarrassing, but it was just weird. It was funny, but I'd gone in for this audition. I think it was for Louis C.K., and it was for the role of a mom in the street, or a woman in the street who sees a baby carriage, like, on the loose. I guess it's on the loose and rolling into the street. And so she's supposed to scream, like, at the top of her lungs. And I didn't know that they were going to want to scream because, of course, you just get there and you're given the size. And it didn't say screaming woman. Had I known it was a screaming woman, I would have said to my manager, no, I can't go in because I'm not a screamer. Like, I just can't.
Right.
No. And so, and I explained that to them. They're like, just do the best you can. So I'm like, okay. And they literally were like, there's a baby. And they were both
oh my God,
laughing
wow.
at me.
So
like, they were so much tears coming, like they couldn't even control themselves behind me. And I was like, okay, I know that was really bad. And I kind of just didn't say anything and just walked out.
And you booked the role?
No, I
No?
didn't. No, and I felt, like looking back, I don't think the casting directors were trying to be mean. They just couldn't help it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those moments where I just, didn't feel too good about it.
Okay, so tell us about your run-in with Jennifer Tilly and that audition experience. Jennifer Tilly, you did a little bit from, is that Tangana?
Yeah, Tangana. So we had this idea because one of our troupe members does an amazing Ice-T impersonation, and we're like, dude, we have to do more with that. And we started brainstorming, and we wanted to do digital shorts to show between our sketches. And so we said, hey, why don't we just like do kind of this idea of like all these celebrities on these auditions of roles that they never booked. So, and that was easy because you just pull the script from online. And so we all had to brainstorm like what character we could do. And I was like, hey, I'll give Jennifer Tilly a go. And that's just how it happened. It just honestly started. It wasn't anything that I've been working on. It was just something that we all brainstormed, and we were kind of like, yeah, Jennifer Tilly, why not? Because, of course, I'm trying to find people that I could do that people know that I look like also. So we just started. It was just nothing but being silly, and that's all we did. We recorded a bunch of stuff, and we were just having so much fun laughing, and I think that's what made it so great.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's hilarious. You guys listeners, you guys should watch that if you get a chance.
Thank you.
So for auditioning, what are your mindsets going in and coming out? Do you enjoy auditions?
Not necessarily. I mean, come on, it's nerve-wracking, and it's a hard mindset too, because you're trying not to put so much emphasis on something, but at the same time, it's potentially a job that's going to bring in consistent money. So that's a big deal,
Right.
Especially for working actors who don't have steady income. So the thing I try to do, I really, 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 really try not to give a fuck too much. Sorry for the speech, but I try not to care too much. But it's a struggle. It's still something that I work with, and I've often found that the ones that I go in and I don't care and I don't put too much emphasis on are the ones where I feel good about, and I almost don't care what the outcome is. And more often than not, are the ones that I usually book.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I don't have to practice that. I cannot give advice. It's just something that you just got to keep reminding yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any dream collaborations?
Oh, God.
Directors or actors, writers?
I want to work with everybody.
Everybody? Okay. What's the first one that comes to mind for you?
Lin-Manuel.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Did you watch the Tonys the other night?
Yeah, come on. I mean, the guy is just genius. Anybody who can just inspire culture in life and just really do something about changing the industry as a whole, I just think it's just really powerful. And those are the people that I'm inspired by and would want to work with.
So success to you means like inspiring people or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I consider myself, I don't know, I'm just drawn to the storytelling aspect. And I remember watching my first Broadway show and just being really moved by the storytelling. It's like to the point where, hysterically crying, like hyperventilating. I had to walk outside. And I thought, gosh, if something I want to do that. I want to move people that way. And that's just something, I don't know, to me that would be just to give an honest portrayal of what humans are like and just really touching people and having them see that side of humanity, I think is a really powerful thing to do.
What was that first Broadway show for you?
It was Les Mis. Can you believe it?
Wow, Les Mis. Yeah, that would definitely have you in tears for sure.
Our drama teacher took us, and I'd never seen a show, and I was just so overwhelmed by just the production, the amount of effort that went into a storytelling, and I just thought, my God, that is powerful.
So we were just talking about the ups and downs and maintaining that attitude of just being too hard on ourselves, and I've definitely been guilty of it. I'm sure a lot of people have been guilty of it.
Uh-huh.
So So for people that are biracial or mixed, searching for acceptance of themselves, or even find their place in the industry that they dream of doing, what piece of advice would you give to them?
I mean, my piece of advice really would just be to don't even bucket yourself into the different types of races that you are. I mean, just look at yourself as who you are as a person, because I think that's what's really most important. At the end of the day, that's what we really are, and that's part of what storytelling is. We're not just displaying the surface value of what a human being is. We're displaying the depths of a human being, and I think it starts from looking at our own depths and just really just seeing ourselves as a human being. I mean, it sounds simpler than it is. That's for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense though. I definitely agree with that, and I understand it. So tying into that, when you do accept yourself as a person, I think there's a lot of benefit to that. What's exciting you about the industry right now?
I think what's exciting me most right now is just, there is a call for more diversity. I think the audience wants more diversity. They want TV to reflect more of what their daily lives are, and that includes, just a lot more prominence of different cultures, such as the Blacks, Latinos, Asian Americans, Muslims, Indian Americans, and everybody else in this world. And to me, it's exciting that, people on television, shows like Orange is the New Black, and just many, many other wonderful shows or even plays out there that are just calling for that and bringing that out and bringing them up into lead roles. I think it's important, and I think it's important for us as actors to respond to that as well, and not just continue to play into the stereotypes, which we need to. I'm not against that, but it's just exciting also to be able to see roles like that coming out.
Yeah, something I always tell people when that kind of topic comes up of, having black people playing the gangbangers or Latinos playing the bodega guys or whatever. It's like, that's one aspect of our story, that definitely exists. It's not all we are, though. So I definitely understand that.
And the problem isn't playing those at all. I mean, it's a reality of life in a way.
Right.
But it's, I guess, what a lot of actors feel like, if that's the only thing that we get called in for. If I can only get called in for the nail salon lady or anything else, it becomes frustrating just as a whole as to, like, is this how people really see our race?
Exactly.
And, so it's refreshing when we're able to play multiple characters. Like, we can play doctors, yay, we can play anybody. And even now politicians. You can play the president. Wonderful.
For sure.
Yeah.
We most certainly can.
Exactly.
We can do that.
So
yes, we can.
And so opening that to us allows us to be more comfortable playing, the stereotypical roles.
For sure. So that goes into what you're doing now in Atlanta, right? You're playing kind of a Harvard-educated. Tell us a little bit about your play and the character that you're playing.
So the play is called Smart People. It's written by playwright Lydia Diamond and being directed by David DeVries by Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company out here in Atlanta. It just did a run off Broadway with Kenny Leon, and they're bringing it here in Atlanta. It's a wonderful play. It's a play about 4 Harvard-connected, I would say, academics. It's actually a romantic comedy. It's pretty funny, and it really is about the complexities of race and class in America and how each of the characters deal with that in their workplace and within the relationships that they're developing with each other. It's a beautiful play. It's playing at the Southwest Art Center out here in Georgia, and it's opening on July 12th and running through August 7th. And if anyone would like some more information about the show, they can always visit www.truecolorstheater.org for tickets.
Awesome. And where can people reach you personally to see some of your work and some of the things you have going on?
Well, I have a website, and that website's www.juleecerda.com, my full name, which Julee is Juleecerda. So you can find me there, and you can connect with me. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the wonderful little social media places. You can find me there.
Get on it, folks. Julee, thank you so much. You've been a pleasure.
Thanks, Aaron.
And break legs.
Thank you. It was wonderful talking to you.
That's it for this episode of The Creation Ground. I'm your host, Aaron Lloyd. Be sure to check out our Instagram for future and previous guest info, and check out our YouTube channel in the show notes below. Email us with any suggestions at thecreationgrounds@gmail.com. And if you got something out of this, I'd really appreciate if you spread the word and the love. Until next time, this is Aaron Lloyd telling you that the sky is the limit. Stay creative.